Most people believe their life is moving forward. They change jobs, they change relationships, they change cities, they change beliefs, they change habits. And yet, when they are honest with themselves, it feels like nothing truly changes. The same emotional conflicts return. The same frustrations repeat. The same sense of almost follows them everywhere. Different faces, different circumstances, same inner experience. And this creates a quiet terror most people never say out loud. What if my life is stuck? What if I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, and it still doesn't work? So they try harder, they read more, they improve themselves, they seek answers, they follow teachings, they chase clarity. But the repetition continues. According to ancient Gnostic thought, this is not bad luck, it is not failure, and it is not because you are broken. It happens because you are trapped inside a structure you cannot see. Not a prison made of walls, but a prison made of identity. Gnostic texts warned that as long as the inner structure remains the same, life has no choice but to reorganize itself into familiar patterns. The world changes its costumes, but the play remains the same. This is why repetition feels personal. Because it is. You're not repeating events, you're repeating yourself. And this is the most disturbing realization of all. Because if the problem were external, you could escape it. If it were circumstances, you could change them. If it were people, you could leave them behind. But if the repetition comes from who you are being, then no external movement can save you. The Gnostics called this condition forgetfulness, not ignorance of information, but ignorance of what is operating through you. They believed most humans live inside a narrow loop of awareness, mistaking movement for progress and change for transformation. You move, but the center does not. You act, but the source remains untouched. So life rearranges itself and hands you the same lesson in a new form. This is why some people feel exhausted by life, even when nothing bad is happening. They sense something is wrong, but they can't name it. They feel busy, yet empty, active, yet stuck. The modern world tells them, try harder, fix yourself, become better. But the Gnostic warning was the opposite. They said effort alone reinforces the loop, because effort assumes the self is correct and only circumstances need to change. But what if the self itself is the mechanism of repetition? This is the question most people never allow themselves to ask, because once you ask it, you can no longer blame the world. And the ego hates nothing more than losing its alibi. So instead, people distract themselves. They chase goals, they chase meaning, they chase improvement. But deep inside, the wheel keeps turning. The Gnostics symbolized this as a cycle, a closed system where the soul keeps moving without escaping, not because it is punished, but because it does not see. Seeing is the only thing that breaks repetition, not action, not belief, not effort. Seeing. And that is why most people never escape the loop, because seeing requires something terrifying, the willingness to question the identity you protect. In the next part, we will go deeper into what this loop actually is and why modern life unknowingly trains you to stay inside it. But for now, pause with this. If your life feels like it keeps repeating, it may not be because you are doing life wrong. It may be because you are doing it from the same place. Most people assume repetition means stagnation, but the Gnostics understood something far more unsettling. They said repetition is not the absence of movement. It is movement inside a closed system. From the outside, your life looks active. From the inside, it feels strangely familiar. You wake up. You think the same thoughts. You react in the same emotional patterns. You pursue slightly different goals. And then the day ends. Tomorrow looks different, but it feels the same. This is not coincidence. According to Gnostic cosmology, the human being lives inside a cycle of conditioned awareness, not controlled by fate, not controlled by destiny, but controlled by unseen inner assumptions. The loop begins with identity. Who you believe you are determines what you notice, what you ignore, what you react to, what you believe is possible. And here is the critical point most people miss. You do not experience reality directly. You experience reality through the filter of who you think you are. That filter quietly selects your life for you. So when you change circumstances but keep the same filter, life rearranges itself to feel familiar again. New relationship, same emotional dynamic. New job, same sense of dissatisfaction. New belief, same inner conflict. The loop is not in the world. The loop is in perception. The Gnostics describe this state as living inside a false continuity, a sense of me that feels solid, consistent, and real, but is actually a pattern repeating itself moment after moment. This is why effort alone cannot break repetition, because effort is generated from the same identity that sustains the loop. The self tries to fix the self. The pattern tries to escape the pattern, and that is impossible. This is why so many people feel they are working on themselves for years, yet nothing fundamentally shifts. They become more informed, more articulate, more aware of concepts, but their inner center remains untouched. The Gnostics warned that knowledge without seeing becomes another layer of the trap, because it strengthens identity instead of dissolving it. You don't wake up by accumulating insights. You wake up by losing attachment to the one who accumulates. This is deeply uncomfortable, because the loop survives by convincing you that you are the one in control. But look closely. Did you choose your dominant fears? Did you choose your automatic reactions? Did you choose the emotional tone that follows you through life? Or did they simply appear, and you learn to call them me? The loop operates silently. It doesn't need force. It doesn't need punishment. It only needs identification. As long as you believe, this is who I am, this is how life is, this is how things always go, the cycle remains intact. The ancient Gnostics symbolized this loop through the image of the wheel, not a wheel of suffering, but a wheel of repetition without awareness. You move, but you return. And the most dangerous part is this: the loop feels normal. It doesn't feel like a prison. It feels like life, which is why most people defend it. They defend their habits. They defend their reactions. They defend their identity, even when it hurts them. Because the loop provides something more valuable than freedom. It provides familiarity, and familiarity feels like safety. This is why people fear silence, because silence threatens the continuity of the self. In silence, the loop slows down, and when it slows down, something unsettling appears. A gap, a space where identity is no longer automatic. The Gnostics taught that awakening does not begin with answers, it begins with discomfort. The discomfort of realizing, I am not moving forward, I am moving in circles. But here is the key most people never reach. The loop cannot be broken from inside the loop. It cannot be escaped through effort, achievement, or belief. It dissolves only when it is seen as a mechanism, not judged, not resisted, not fixed, seen. The moment you observe the loop without trying to change it, its grip weakens because it feeds on unconscious participation. This is why the Gnostics said the rulers of this world, the archons, do not need chains. They only need identification. As long as you remain identified with the pattern, you keep walking the circle willingly. In the next part, we will expose how modern life strengthens this loop and why even spirituality often becomes fuel for repetition instead of freedom. But for now, sit with this quietly. If your life feels like it keeps returning to the same place, it may not be because you haven't tried enough. It may be because you've never questioned the one who keeps trying. If the loop were obvious, almost no one would remain inside it. If life clearly felt like a prison, people would rebel. But the genius of the loop is that it disguises itself as progress. The modern world does not try to trap you by force. It trains you through repetition. Every system you interact with teaches the same hidden lesson. Keep moving, keep improving, keep becoming. From childhood, you are taught that movement equals growth, more education, more success, more experiences, more self-improvement. But almost no one teaches you how to step outside the pattern that is moving. The loop survives by staying busy. When you are busy, you don't see. When you don't see, nothing changes. The Gnostics warned that a system does not need to enslave the body if it successfully occupies the mind. And the modern world is exceptionally good at this. Look closely. Every time you feel uncomfortable, you are given a distraction. Every time you feel empty, you are offered stimulation. Every time you feel stuck, you are told to do more. The loop is reinforced through constant activity. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Most people mistake stimulation for aliveness. They think being occupied means being fulfilled. But stimulation does not transform awareness. It only keeps it moving. The Gnostics called this condition wandering consciousness, a mind that never rests long enough to observe itself. So the loop continues unnoticed. Even spirituality, which should dissolve the loop, often strengthens it. People turn awakening into a project, a goal, an identity. They begin to define themselves as seekers, as spiritual, as aware. But identity is the very mechanism that sustains repetition. The moment awakening becomes who you are, it becomes part of the loop. The Gnostics warned that the ego does not disappear through spirituality. It adapts. It puts on sacred language. It adopts elevated concepts. It hides behind wisdom. And the loop continues, just more refined. This is why so many people feel spiritually informed, but existentially unchanged. They can explain truth, but they do not live differently. They speak of freedom, but feel trapped. Because the loop does not care what language you use. It only cares whether identity remains intact. The modern world rewards identity constantly. Your opinions, your preferences, your personal narrative. You are encouraged to define yourself endlessly. And every definition strengthens the center around which life keeps repeating. The Gnostics understood that identity is inertia. As long as identity remains fixed, experience rearranges itself around it predictably. This is why people relive the same emotional wounds for decades, not because life is cruel, but because awareness never shifts position. The loop feels personal, but it is impersonal. It operates mechanically. Reaction follows stimulus. Habit follows memory. Expectation follows experience. And the wheel turns again. The most painful realization is this: you are not trapped because you are weak. You are trapped because you are identified. The world trains you to protect that identification, to polish it, to improve it, to express it, but never to question it. This is why silence feels threatening, because in silence, identity loosens. And when identity loosens, the loop begins to wobble. The Gnostics said the rulers of this world fear one thing above all, not rebellion, not knowledge, but withdrawal of identification. When you stop feeding the pattern with belief and reaction, it begins to collapse on its own, not dramatically, quietly. This is why awakening does not arrive as fireworks. It arrives as a subtle loss of interest in repeating yourself. The modern world cannot offer this because it depends on you staying inside the loop, consuming, producing, becoming. So it rewards movement and punishes stillness. But stillness is the doorway. In the next part, we will go even deeper into why people return to the loop even after seeing it, and why freedom often feels more frightening than repetition. That is where most seekers turn back. At some point, almost everyone senses the loop. They may not name it, they may not understand it, but they feel it. A quiet realization begins to surface. Something is off. Why does my life feel familiar no matter what I change? This is the moment when awareness approaches the edge of the loop, and this is where most people turn back, not because they don't see, but because what comes next feels terrifying. The Gnostics understood that the greatest barrier to freedom is not ignorance. It is fear of emptiness. Repetition, as painful as it is, offers something comforting: continuity. You know who you are inside the loop. You know how to react. You know how the story goes. The loop gives you a sense of self, and when awareness threatens that self, a deep resistance arises. The fear is rarely conscious. It doesn't say, "I'm afraid of losing my identity." It disguises itself as confusion, doubt, exhaustion, cynicism, distraction. People say, "I'm tired. This isn't for me. Maybe later. I already understand this." But beneath these excuses is a single unspoken fear. Who am I without the loop? The Gnostics warned that the ego does not fear suffering. It fears dissolution. Suffering still confirms existence. Emptiness threatens it. This is why people unconsciously return to old patterns even after glimpsing truth. They fall back into familiar roles, familiar problems, familiar identities, not because they failed, but because the loop feels safer than the unknown. The world reinforces this fear constantly. It tells you, define yourself, express yourself, build yourself, but it never asks you to observe yourself disappearing. The Gnostics taught that freedom begins with disorientation, a moment where the old coordinates no longer apply. You don't know who you are. You don't know what to chase. You don't know what comes next. This is not depression. This is not collapse. It is the threshold. But modern culture labels this state as dangerous. It rushes to fill the gap with noise, with purpose, with distraction. Because a person who rests in the gap cannot be easily controlled. The loop survives by keeping you defined. As long as you can say, "I am this, I want that, I fear this," the structure remains intact. This is why people feel anxiety when nothing is wrong. It is the identity sensing its own instability. The Gnostics describe this as the moment the soul approaches remembrance, and remembrance threatens the entire system. So the loop activates its strongest defense, fear disguised as meaning. It whispers, if you let go, you will lose direction. If you stop striving, you will become nothing. If you don't define yourself, you will disappear. But the Gnostics knew something radically different. They said, "What disappears is not you. What disappears is the false continuity, the pattern that pretended to be you." This is why repetition feels exhausting, because maintaining identity requires constant energy. You must react, defend, explain, maintain your story. Freedom feels frightening because it removes the story, and without a story, there is silence. Most people never stay long enough in that silence to discover what remains. They run back to the loop and call it life. In the next part, we will examine what actually happens when the loop begins to loosen, and why the first signs of freedom are often mistaken for loss. This is the phase where everything seems to fall apart. But in reality, something false is finally dissolving. When the loop starts to loosen, life does not suddenly become brighter. It often becomes stranger. This is where many people misunderstand what freedom looks like. They expect clarity, direction, certainty. But what usually appears first is disorientation. Old motivations weaken. Goals that once felt urgent lose their grip. Ambitions feel hollow. And this scares people. They think, something is wrong. I'm losing my drive. I'm becoming disconnected. But the Gnostics warned that this stage is not loss. It is deconditioning. When identity loosens, the mechanisms that once fueled your life begin to shut down. The loop was powered by desire, fear, and self-image. When those begin to fade, the engine stalls, and for a moment, there is no replacement. This is the most misunderstood phase of awakening, because from the outside, it can look like collapse, but from the inside, something profound is happening. The self that kept repeating is no longer fully believed, and without belief, it cannot operate as before. This is why people often feel tired during this stage, not physically tired, existentially tired. The exhaustion comes from no longer wanting to play the same roles, the same arguments, the same pursuits, the same emotional reactions. The Gnostics described this as the soul withdrawing energy from the false world, not through rebellion, not through rejection, but through loss of interest. The loop weakens when it is no longer fed. But here is where many people panic, because when the loop fades, there is a period where nothing rushes in to replace it. Silence expands. Time feels different. You may notice longer pauses between thoughts, less urgency, less compulsion to react. To the ego, this feels like death. To awareness, it feels like space. The modern world has no language for this state, so it labels it as lack of ambition, depression, confusion, failure. And people rush to fix it. They reattach to goals. They rebuild identity. They restart the loop because the unfamiliar feels unsafe. The Gnostics knew this moment well. They said this is where the soul stands between worlds, no longer fully inside the loop, but not yet resting in clarity. This is why patience is essential. Not effort, not analysis. Patience. The loop collapses slowly, not violently. It loses power as identification fades. And what begins to appear is not a new identity, but a different way of seeing. You start noticing patterns instead of being inside them. You see reactions arise and pass without fully owning them. You observe thoughts without immediately believing them. Life still happens, but it no longer defines you in the same way. This is why the Gnostics said awakening is not an event. It is a shift in relationship. You no longer live as the center of experience. You become the space in which experience appears. This is subtle, and because it is subtle, many people miss it. They think freedom must be dramatic, but real transformation feels almost boring, quiet, unremarkable, undramatic. And yet, something irreversible has begun. The wheel no longer turns automatically. It hesitates, it slows, and for the first time, you are no longer fully inside it. In the next part, we will explore why many people consciously or unconsciously return to the loop even after reaching this stage, and what allows some to continue forward instead. At this stage, something becomes very clear. Freedom is not taken away from people. It is abandoned. Most do not fall back into the loop because they fail to understand. They fall back because understanding is not enough. Seeing the loop is unsettling. Living without it is unfamiliar. And familiarity has a powerful gravity. The Gnostics understood that the loop does not pull people back with force. It pulls them back with comfort. Comfort is subtle. It says, "At least I know who I am here. At least I know how life works. At least I know what to expect." Even suffering feels safer when it is predictable. This is why many people unconsciously choose repetition over freedom. Freedom removes reference points. Inside the loop, your identity gives you coordinates. What matters, what threatens you, what gives meaning. Outside the loop, those coordinates dissolve, and without them, the mind panics. It searches for something to hold, so it rebuilds identity. Sometimes it returns to old roles. Sometimes it adopts new ones, a new belief, a new philosophy, a new mission. But the structure is the same. Only the costume changes. This is why some people leave one system only to recreate another that feels identical. Different language, same dependence. The Gnostics warned that false exits are everywhere. They look like freedom, but they preserve identity. They offer answers. They offer belonging. They offer certainty. And certainty is the loop's favorite disguise. True freedom offers none of these. It offers clarity without structure. This is deeply uncomfortable because the self wants reassurance. It wants to know, who am I now? What should I do? Where am I going? But the Gnostic correction was radical. They said, the question itself is the loop. As long as you demand a narrative, you remain inside repetition. Those who truly continue forward do something counterintuitive. They stop demanding meaning. They stop asking life to explain itself. They rest in direct perception. This does not make them passive. It makes them present. Action arises naturally, not from fear or identity. This is why the Gnostics said, awakening is not becoming someone new. It is no longer being ruled by the need to be someone. Most people cannot tolerate this, because the ego survives through significance. If it cannot be important, it prefers to be miserable. At least, misery confirms existence. Freedom does not confirm anything. It simply is. This is why people often sabotage moments of clarity. They distract themselves, they seek stimulation, they recreate urgency. The loop feeds on urgency. When everything feels urgent, there is no time to see. The Gnostics taught that the rulers of the false world cannot control awareness that rests in itself. So they keep people busy, not evil, efficient. This is why those who truly move beyond the loop appear ordinary from the outside. They are not dramatic. They do not preach. They do not announce awakening. They simply respond differently. Less reaction, less attachment, less compulsion. Life still unfolds, but it no longer grips them the same way. And here is the most important distinction of all. Those who return to the loop seek certainty. Those who continue accept not knowing, not as confusion, but as openness. This openness cannot be captured, organized, or repeated, which is why it cannot become another loop. In the final part, We will bring everything together, not with a conclusion, but with a quiet recognition of what has been watching the loop all along. That recognition is where repetition finally ends. If you listen carefully, you may notice something subtle. Throughout everything we've explored, the repetition, the loop, the fear, the identity, the return, something has remained untouched. Your life may have repeated itself. Your roles may have changed. Your beliefs may have shifted. Your sense of self may have evolved. But the awareness that noticed all of this was always present. It did not age. It did not repeat. It did not move in circles. It watched the circle. This is the recognition the Gnostics pointed toward, not as a belief, not as a doctrine, but as a direct seeing. The loop was never the problem. Identification was. The moment you were fully convinced that you were the pattern, life had no choice but to repeat itself. But when awareness notices the pattern without becoming it, the structure loses its power. Not dramatically, not instantly, quietly. This is why awakening is so often missed. People look for fireworks, for revelation, for transformation. But real freedom feels almost disappointing to the ego. Nothing special happens. Nothing is gained. Nothing is announced. There is simply less compulsion, less urgency, less need to define, less need to arrive somewhere else. Life continues. But the grip loosens. The Gnostics said the false world collapses, not when it is destroyed, but when it is no longer believed. Belief feeds repetition. Seeing ends it. This is why no technique can save you. Techniques operate inside the loop. They promise change while reinforcing the one who wants to change. But what you truly are never needed improvement. It was never trapped. It was only overlooked. And here is the quiet truth that changes everything. You were never meant to escape the world. You were meant to see through it. The loop ends not when life becomes perfect, but when life is no longer personal in the same way. Events happen. Emotions arise, circumstances shift, but they no longer define you. You are no longer trying to become free. You are noticing what was always free. This is why the Gnostics did not speak of salvation as a future event. They spoke of remembrance, not remembering information, remembering perspective, remembering what has been present through every version of you. And when this remembrance stabilizes, repetition loses its purpose, because the loop only exists to keep awareness distracted from itself. Once that distraction fades, there is nothing left to repeat. Life still unfolds, but the wheel no longer turns automatically. And if something in you recognizes this, even faintly, it means the loop has already loosened. Not because you did something right, but because you finally stopped trying to fix what was never broken. This is not an ending. It is not a conclusion. It is simply the point where seeing replaces striving. And from there, nothing needs to change for everything to be different.